My name is Chris Jones, and I'm about to give my final presentation for English 101. Watching the presentation, we have Joe on the camera, Kyle, and Karsten. So I chose to give my presentation on hydrogen fuel. We're going to start off by taking a moment to think. Now imagine you're on your way to fill up your gas tank, for at least as far as you can afford. The price of gasoline is drifting uncomfortably close to $20 a gallon. The world has known for a while now that the oil supplies are dwindling very rapidly. Several blocks from the gas station, traffic blocks the road. It's not hard to tell that something is very wrong. You then hear on the news that the announcement is made that the nation's oil supplies have officially run dry. We're now running on emergency oil reserves. The price of gasoline has shot to astronomical figures. This could be our future. Thankfully, with a little common sense, this could be averted. The U.S.'s dependency on fossil fuels is abhorrent. The nation sucks up these non-renewable resources as if they were limitless. When these fossil fuels are burned, they release harmful gases and toxins into the environment. To put it simply, fossil fuels are dirty, dangerous, and irresponsible. However, there's an alternative. Renewable resources, such as wind power, solar power, hydroelectric power, and yes, even hydrogen fuel cells, have the potential to save us from ourselves. Now, you may not know how a fuel cell works. You may think it's very difficult. However, it's not that difficult at all. It's very similar to a rechargeable battery. We have the electrolyte, which is essentially a conductor between the anode and the cathode. We have the anode, which is the negative terminal. We have the cathode, which is the positive terminal. And we have a catalyst, which regulates the electric charge between the anode and the cathode. Now, on one side of the fuel cell, we have hydrogen that's pumped in. On the other side, oxygen. Hydrogen is coming from your tank. Oxygen is pumped in from the air in the atmosphere. Now, the hydrogen and oxygen combine over the electrolyte, forming a chemical reaction, creating water. Along with this water, we have excess electrons that are also created. The water is then discarded from the system. The excess electrons are what creates the electricity. It's what would power your motor. Now, I'm going to take a minute and compare the emissions of a fuel cell and internal combustion engines. Both fuel cells and internal combustion engines release heat and water as their emissions. These, however, are the only emissions for fuel cells. Internal combustion engines, on the other hand, emit nitrogen, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, a whole bunch of other toxic gases and particulate matter that is very bad for the environment. Hydrogen fuel cells emit only water as their tailpipe exhaust. Compare that to internal combustion engines and they look a lot better. Now, there are many types of fuel cells. Polymer exchange membrane fuel cell is one of the most important. That is one you would most likely find in your car. That's because its operating temperature is only about 100 degrees, so it doesn't take as long to warm up. And with the starting and stopping of a car, that is perfect. Solid oxide fuel cells are another type. This is what you would probably find in a fuel cell powered power plant. That's because these are very efficient, much more efficient than a polymer exchange membrane fuel cell. However, they have much higher operating temperatures, upwards of 500 degrees. Now, there are a bunch of other types of fuel cells that aren't used as much as these two. They all run on different types of electrolytes, different types of catalysts at different operating temperatures. Now, PEMFC use in cars. That's polymer exchange membrane fuel cell. That is what has the potential to take over the automotive industry, competing with internal combustion engines and electric cars, hybrids. Now, there are many pros to these. First is that they are very little difference from that of a internal combustion engine for the daily driver. There's very quick fill-up times. It takes only minutes to refuel on hydrogen. It's the same as refueling with gasoline. You go to the station, You hook up your car, you pump some hydrogen in, and you're on your way again. Compare that to 4 to 10 hours to recharge the average electric car. I don't know about you, but I don't want to wait around for 10 hours to wait for my car to charge. There's also very few moving parts in fuel cells, which make them much more reliable in the long run. And the efficiency rate of a average fuel cell right now is about 80%. Compare that to the efficiency rate of a gasoline engine, which is at most 30%. All the other energy in an internal combustion engine is released as heat or sound. 80% is a little bit better than 30%, I would have to say. And a little bit more research that could jump up even higher. Now, there are also a lot of cons associated with fuel cells. First of which being cost. Fuel cells currently are priced out of the market. The cost to produce a fuel cell is much more than it would be viable to put into a car. However, if they were mass-produced, this could solve the problem. Hydrogen also costs a lot to produce, same thing. Production of hydrogen is also another problem. It's currently produced through electrolysis, which is converting water into hydrogen by splitting it apart. However, that takes electricity, and if that electricity is off of the grid from burning fossil fuels, you're getting clean electricity from dirty electricity, which is essentially still dirty electricity. Now, there's also an infrastructure problem. Nobody wants to buy a car if there's nowhere to fill it up. Now, no companies want to take the initiative and build an infrastructure for gas stations that nobody owns a car for. Which one's going to come first? It's also a storage problem. Hydrogen has to be extremely pressurized, and that involves high cost of storing electricity and high weight in an automobile. It's having to carry around those heavy tanks. Now, in spite of all of these cons, I believe that hydrogen fuel cells have the potential to make a very serious impact in our future. The end. Are there any questions? Yes.
Isn't hydrogen extremely explosive under pressure?
Well, yes, but under the proper circumstances, it can be very safe. I mean, gasoline, it's very explosive, it's very flammable. You have the same problems. Any other questions? Yes.
When will these fuel cells be available to the public?
Great question. In certain states, these fuel cell powered cars are already available. California, for example, you can go out and buy fuel cell cars. They have fuel stations all over the country. Even here in Rochester, there is a location to fill up a hydrogen fuel cell powered car. However, they are very expensive at the moment. Are there any questions? No?
I have one.
Yes.
I was just wondering if there was any waste after you use all of the energy in the fuel cell.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any waste from that? And is it significant?
Is there any waste from what?
After is there a point where the fuel cell isn't good anymore, where you can't use the fuel cell?
Oh, like... I would have to say probably with any normal engine you run that risk. It'll be outdated, there'll be more technology, higher efficiencies, better mileage. Just with an internal combustion engine you have today, we have the same problems. Any other questions? Thank you.
No.